The story we are going to cover today was originally planned for Friday, but due to exhaustion on my end and a few other issues, Uncle Duty took precedent and building a kennel. Yeah, I know, much fun had by nobody. I had to put off covering this story, but actually, this was a good thing. It was a good thing not to cover it because there was an update, which makes this even more amusing than it already is. Over the last 3.5 years on this platform, I have used an avatar with a Cthulhu ski mask originally, and then it changed to cartoon, and I went down the cartoon route as opposed to stock images because I wanted it to be unique and my own. Naturally, because of the tentacles, I get called cephalopod, squid, bastard child of Cthulhu, the nearest being the latter, since I was inspired by Cthulhu in the first place, and the fact that it made my niece giggle. But the squid comments come up all the time, and I don't mind actually. Squid rings are delicious after all, and that is not cannibalism. Remember, I'm Cthulhu-Kin, not squid. In any case, when a story related to apparently me crops up, and there is an amusing twist to it, it is worth mocking. It is worth looking at, really having a long, hard thought, think, consider, and then once you've done that, a good old-fashioned laugh, because it's just worth it. So the story comes from the BBC, where a man has been arrested, or he had been arrested. The update changes it, and we will get to the update once we've mocked the initial story, but I'll leave it a little open so that I'm not too stupid. He was arrested for avoiding a collision. Now by doing this, he managed to drive himself into a ditch and flip his car over, which is obviously a bad thing, but he did it because he being the animal rights activist that he is, even though it's not mentioned in any article, so clearly it was entirely because he shat himself, saw something in the street and it terrified him. So much so that the thing he saw in the middle of the road had to be avoided. Kind of like how some grown-ups react when they see a spider, or when somebody jumps around a corner and says boo, because that is truly terrifying. But for this, we're going to replace the spider and the boo with an octopus. In the middle of a road was an octopus, and the man swerved to avoid it, putting himself in the ditch, and doing so, causing a bit of damage to his car and himself, of course, and eventually getting arrested for it. Which had me wonder, did Peter know about this? Were they so quick on this that they managed to get the octopus to safety, perhaps in the Cephalopod Witness Protection Program? The Kingsbridge Police put a little statement out on Facebook about this. Emergency services are currently dealing with a vehicle, RTC, on the A381 by the South Milton turn where a car has overturned. The driver stated he swerved to avoid an octopus, and he is currently in custody on suspicion of drug driving. Did he take a Class C drug? There's your dad joke, everyone. You are all welcome. Now, to make a very obvious point, I want to show you a map of Marlborough and South Milton, the road, the A381, by the South Milton turn. This is it here on Google Maps. Let's just zoom out a little, though, and you'll notice that there isn't a body of water within 5 kilometres, meaning the claimed cephalopod that had been in the middle of the road had to have travelled across fields and hills and other roads to get to that location to murk the fuck out of that driver.
Because we want to let him go wherever it is he wants to go.
Look, you see the shells inside his body.
I was going to say, what are those weird things inside him?
Where are you headed, dude?
Yeah. Somebody have some Reese's peanut butter.
Yeah, really?
Which is quite impressive if true, but also a bit unusual, you know, since octopuses don't generally exist on land. Well, for very long, and to travel 5 miles that would have taken a little time, unless the octopus in question had access to the Speed Force, which is unlikely. Rather unsurprisingly, upon announcing that this man had been arrested, there were a number of tweets with many dad jokes in. I'm going to put them on the screen. I refuse to read them because I think, honestly, I shouldn't do this. It's just cringe. But it's also rather amusing. This man became the butt of a joke. It actually went a bit further though, because there was a hashtag. Hashtag Octopus Inc. Safety. Yeah, that's right. This escalated so far that while we don't know the name of the man in question, it got a hashtag trending. And I will say, octopus safety is very important. Especially the ink, it goes fantastic in underwater biros. Now let's say hypothetically an octopus was in fact in the road. Would it not seem reasonable then, if they're able to get that far inland without dying, that we should adapt a certain road sign we use sometimes for deer or cattle, like this one? I think it's a good idea. The last thing you need is one stuck to your windscreen, unless your intention is to make a car that looks like it's covered in barnacles and cephalopods. Not that it matters, it's just an amusing thought really, isn't it? The hashtag Octopus Road Safety came about because I believe this was covered on a TV show. I personally didn't watch the show, I know of the show, and there are a number of memes that are quite funny, and many puns made at the expense of the poor cephalopods, krakens and such. Now, there is an update to this story, and it is certainly worth addressing, because while we all consider it to be unlikely there was in fact an octopus in the road, well, there was something around, and it somehow startled this man to the extent that he would crash his vehicle into the ditch, and then summarily be arrested for it. And here it is. This is believed to have been what caused the man to crash in Devon. This picket with the silver squid surfer. At least they got the tentacles right, and there's 8 of them. But this thing is so alarming, so truly terrifying, that the man crashed his car. Now, while the man has been released, he is still under investigation pending further inquiries. One would surmise drug testing would play a key factor into this, and understandably so. I can imagine if, having taken some mushrooms, that would be one hell of a thing to see on the side of the road. I'm sure it would be exacerbated with LSD. Or if you're really hardcore, some milk and magnesia and a shot of Calpol through a crack pipe. And I'll readily admit, if they are your kicks, your kinks, whatever you like to do to get high, have at it. Just do me a favour and don't drive. The police generally hold drug driving on par with drink driving, and I can understand that. There are certain medications you can take that if you take and then drive, you run the risk of crashing, because the medication, once it starts to take effect, will cause the taker to feel sleepy, which is hardly ideal if driving. There are other medications that have other side effects. If you take Pentalax because you're constipated, it's probably not a good idea to sit in your car seat and drive for several hours, because if you can't find somewhere to go, your chair is going to get really messy. Anyway, I thought this was all quite amusing, and I had obviously intended this to be for Friday, but again, my apologies for not. I will, of course, endeavour to continue with my regular upload schedule of Monday through till Friday. So I hope you all have a lovely Monday the 11th of February, and thank you all for listening.